Saturday morning, the Experts program continues, and Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, is joining us right now. Good morning, Luis.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Doing really well. So this is the final weekend of October. It's Halloween, and I guess you and Ronnie have a spooktacular Halloween planned, right?
We do. We're actually going down to Palm Springs for a little vacation and renting a house down there, and we'll be there Saturday night. Going to have some friends get together and outside and social distancing, but wearing costumes and just having a fun event at the house that we're renting.
All costumes with masks.
Yes, there you go.
Very cool. All right. Hey, out of Politico, which is an online political commentary publication, a hacker is trying to blackmail tens of thousands of Finnish patients in Finland after gaining access to their medical records from their therapy sessions in what experts said the country's top politicians call a shocking cyber attack. So what do we got here is a lot of people that are mental patients, right? These are people who have various mental illnesses or conditions, and they probably don't want everybody to know about what they're suffering from. And so the idea of this ransom is, give us this money or we are going to humiliate you, embarrass you, just cause problems for you by letting your condition be known to everyone.
Exactly. And what's really a twist in this is normally the hackers would blackmail the actual
like the hospital
location,
or the doctor.
Like the hospital, right.
Mm-hmm.
And they would, ask for millions of dollars or whatever. But they've figured out that, hey, the real money is to be made in smaller amounts by jacking up 40,000 patients whose records have been compromised. And like you said, threatened to expose whatever their therapy sessions were about, what they're suffering through, what medications they're on. And this is a really scary proposition that hackers have now ventured into this area. We've known that they've been trying to expand their footprint beyond just ransomware because we got smart about ransomware and we're able to convince our clients that reliable, good backups that are not able to be encrypted is a way to prevent having to pay the ransom. And I think a lot of people have figured that out. So then the bad guys said, well, okay, we're going to do you one better. We're going to steal data, then we'll encrypt it, then we'll blackmail you to decrypt it and blackmail you to get your data back.
Right.
And so this is the next step in this process. And for businesses, this represents a very scary proposition. I mean, think about it. If you are in business, maybe not even a healthcare provider, but let's say you have confidential, sensitive information. Let's say you're a law firm or a CPA firm, and a hacker gets in there and steals all this data. And rather than coming to you, they go out to all of your customers and say, hey, we've stolen this data from the CPA firm that represents you. And if you want it back, you're going to have to pay us. The reputational damage is huge. That firm basically will have to shut down because nobody will trust their information anymore. So this just goes to show that we can never do too much for cybersecurity. It's an ongoing, dynamic, changing landscape. We have professionals that monitor chat rooms and all sorts of official local and state and federal government sites that provide information on what is the latest and greatest in the hacking community. And that's how we can protect our clients. And it's just one of those things that if you don't have reliable cybersecurity in place today, then you really need to stop and think about what would happen if something like this occurred in your company.
You talk about that number, 40,000 people, right? So what if you decided to ransom to those 40,000 people, say $10,000, and we'll give you your data back? You know how much money that is? 40,000 people times $10,000?
That's millions and millions.
$400 million.
$400 million. That's why they're doing it that way.
Yeah.
Because rather than try to get a big, $10 million ransom from this one company, they can go after the little guys. And even if they just charge $1,000, they're still making $40 million. And who wouldn't pay if you were one of these compromised individuals that they had your data? And they can prove it to you because they'll share just enough so that it scares you that you say, oh my gosh, they do have this data. And so the Finnish government is doing everything they can to track down the bad guys, but really the horse has left the barn at this point. This information is out there and it's probably being traded by multiple hacker groups because, once they find a mark, they don't let go. And I'm afraid that these people may be in for a pretty miserable few years as the hackers keep on coming back to them saying, well, we still have the data. We need more money or else we're going to let it out. So it's a huge issue. And I think just shows that the bad guys are always looking for ways to make money in new and even more nefarious ways.
Right. So what does someone do to protect themselves? For example, there are things that you and I can do with our own data, but what about a doctor's office that has sensitive medical records? What kind of questions should we be asking of our medical providers about their cybersecurity?
That's That's a really good question. And you should just be asking the questions. What are you doing to protect my patient records? What information are you encrypting it? Are you otherwise protecting it? Ask pointed questions. Make that part of the decision-making process, not just of doctors, but of the law firms that you use, the CPA firms, the IT companies that you use. We have been, as you know, IT companies have been victimized as well. So we believe we're doing as good a job as possible to protect ourselves because we don't want to be a victim that compromises our clients. So of any service that you use, you should be asking, what are they doing to protect your data? What are they doing to protect your information? And if they can't answer the question, you need to find another provider.
That's a great point that you bring up. And by the way, this could be a whole new area of medical malpractice, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You might be able to find an enterprising lawyer that would go after a medical provider and charge a malpractice cause against something like this. So
very easily. This happened in Europe, so I doubt that they're going to be subject to the same sort of lawsuits that happen in the United States. But if this was an American company, they'd be shutting down pretty quick.
All right, Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, has been our guest today. And of course, if you want to get in touch with the Alvarez Technology Group, online, alvareztg.com, @AlvarezTG is the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.